Okay, so you've made it to lesson 7 in unit 1, meaning this is the last of our must-do lessons for this unit. So when you finish the checkpoint for this unit, you're either going to be doing some enrichment because you're ahead a little bit, or you're going to be doing some review for the unit test. All right, so this last must-do lesson concerns the distributive property, which is going to be important for when we start solving equations in the next unit. So we're going to use this distributive property to simplify expressions. So this helps us do a few things, and I'm going to give you an area model to start. So to solve a lot of problems in math, it's really useful to rewrite expressions into simpler forms. That's where this distributive property comes in. And I'm using an area model, meaning I've got two rectangles here. The area of the first rectangle is 8 times x, or 8x. The second rectangle is 8 times 13, or 104. So if I just rewrote that as one expression, it would be x plus 13. I mean, this area would still be 8x plus 104. So the distributive property really helps us rewrite and simplify expressions. So it's usually a number or an expression multiplied by another expression. All right, so in that first one, we've got 3 times x plus 8, meaning we distribute 3 through that expression in the parentheses. So I do 3 times x, 3 times 8. So I'm going to rewrite this as 3 times x plus 24. And those are not like terms, so I leave that expression as is. Now in part B, the number being multiplied by the expression on the inside is on the back of that expression. So I can still write it if it helps. I can rewrite my multiplication in a different order. All right, back a few lessons ago, that commutative property allows me to do that. So I can rewrite this as negative 35b plus 28. And that is my simplified expression, since those aren't like terms. So right off the bat, I'm going to give you guys a chance to practice this. Do these got it questions. Make sure you pause the video, work through them, and then check with me once you think you're ready to check your answers. All right, so I threw some tricky ones at you, I think, on these, but I want to explain them just to make sure we can handle at least the basic ones. So A and B should be ones you got through. A, even C, I think you guys should be able to get through without a lot of issue. D, I'm going to have to explain a little bit further. So in A, I just distributed through 5. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times 7 is 35. In B, 12 times 3 is 36. 12 times a sixth, 12 times 1/6 is really 12 times 1. So 12 over 6, which is 2. So that's how I got negative 2t there. All right, positive times a negative is negative. C, distributed through 3. 3 times 0.4 is 1.2. 3 times 1.1 is 3.3. Okay, and then D got a little tricky because I'm multiplying a variable through. So I would be multiplying negative y by 2y. So that's like negative 1 times negative 2 here. That's why I got negative 2. Or negative 1 times positive 2. That's why I got negative 2. And then y times y would just be y squared. All right? Y times y is just y squared. We'll get to that a little bit further. For the most part, you're not going to have to distribute a lot of variables in this section. Okay? Then, on the end there, negative y times negative 1. Think of that as like plus a negative 1. Becomes positive y. Okay? So moving ahead, rewriting a fraction as a sum or difference. This is another thing that's going to come into play a little bit later in this class. So for me to rewrite this isn't really all that complicated. I'm just pulling it apart. So 7x plus 2 divided by 5, I could rewrite as 7x over 5 plus 2 over 5, and that's basically it. So I'm essentially just pulling apart the sum or the difference and rewriting it as being over fractions over whatever I'm dividing that entire expression by. So in the got it, try these, take a minute, and then I will explain my solutions to that. All right, so for this got it, Again, I'm just kind of pulling apart the addition and subtraction and rewriting them as two separate fractions. So in A, 4x over 3 minus 16 over 3. And I would leave it like that if I can't simplify the fractions. That's fine. In part B, you see that I can simplify one of those fractions. I got 11 over 6 plus 3x over 6. I can simplify 3x over 6 to be 1x over 2, kind of like 1/2, all right? Part C, 15 over 12, 6x over 12. I can simplify both of those. I can divide 15 and 12 both by 3. I can divide 6 and 12 both by 6. So I'm simplifying those fractions. And then in D, same thing. I can divide 4 and 8 both by 4 to get 1/2 minus 2x over 8. I can divide both of those by 2 to get minus 1x over 4, right? And if you wrote it as just x, that works too. That's fine. So this would be a good point to stop, think about where you're at, move on to the next step, do a little self-check, and then come back for video 2 of these notes.